Hello and welcome to the Collective Conspiracy Show. It's been a while. Obviously, had a lot going on. I think it probably about a week later than I normally am. Had a nice holiday last week, so that was nice, and I'm a bit tanned and a bit burnt. And yes, I am in a vest, but it is damn hot. And I refuse to conform. I'm not going to sit here in a shirt and a tie or a smart shirt. It's hot, so I'm in a vest. And anyone can guess what this is, then you'll get bonus points from me. Andrew has said that he's going to be joining us soon, so he's just going to be a bit late, but that's not a problem. Also drinking my favourite Maltese lager, which my wife kindly brought me for my birthday. I have it once a year now, and I'm probably never going to fly again, so I'll probably never go to Malta again. So it's the only way I can drink it. But we'll discuss a little bit more about that as the show goes on. So thank you all for joining, as always. Please say hello in the comments section. If you haven't granted StreamYard your permission, I won't be able to see who it is. So just leave your name underneath, just in case. And this is interactive, so at any point if you have questions or if you want to make a point or you don't agree with what we're saying, please throw it up there and we'll discuss it if we've got time. And we'll say something. We'll just talk a bit about COVID, because let's be honest, I was going to talk about the 21st June. Is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen? My answer was it's not going to happen, and been proven right. Someone's put good to see you live, Kieran. Not sure who that is. Sorry, it just says Facebook user. Adrian, hi mate. Hope you're all right. Michelle Millions, your message seems to be blank, but hello. Thanks for tuning in. So yeah, obviously don't want to get too much into it without Andrew, because Andrew's input is always valid, probably more so than mine. I'm just here as really just to ask him questions and to guide him, really. But obviously I have my own opinions on COVID. So just put in your comments if you're here to listen to us talk about COVID. What's your opinion about it? Are you happy with the fact that the 21st has been postponed? If you're happy, then it's a bit weird, but let me know if you are. If you're angry, are you upset, disappointed, surprised? Because I'm not. So I don't have an option to allow StreamYard. Where is that? It doesn't matter. I mean, if you just put your name at the end of the message, then I'll know who it is. It's just so I know who I'm talking to, really. But yeah, Andrew's here, so I'm just going to bring Andrew in. But do let us know in the comment section what your thoughts are on today's announcement. I didn't watch it myself. I've got better things to do. Re-alphabetizing my CD collection or something. Andrew, hi, you okay?
I'm all right, thanks, Kieran. How are you?
Very good, very good. I'm very hot, so I'm in a vest, and I make I'm not ashamed. I'm in a vest.
All right.
Is it warm where you are?
It's cooled down quite a bit now. Actually, it was pretty warm earlier. But it's cooled a fair bit now. Yeah,
it's one. The thing is, like, I do this in my living room, and the sun comes around the house. So for the late afternoon, it just blares through what is my bedroom and the living room. So it's like an absolute sauna. The frogs love it though, so they're probably going to join in again at some point tonight. Perfect weather for them. But thanks for coming on, as always.
That's okay.
We were going to talk about is the 21st going to happen? And obviously he's made an announcement to say that it's not going to happen. Are you surprised? I know the answer, but for the viewers.
Well, I don't even know what was supposed to happen on the 21st, frankly. So, that's what I think of it.
It's a good attitude to have. I mean, the only reason I probably know more than I should is because I have to do stuff like this. And I think, so the plan was the 21st, all restrictions lifted, theatres could go to full capacity, pubs could go to just back to normal. Importantly, nightclubs could open because they're still not open at all throughout all of this. And I did read an article about how certain nightclubs planned on suing the government if they postponed the 21st. So it'll be interesting to see how that story develops. But he's come on today to say that he's delaying it to the 19th of July. So 4 more weeks. Is 4 more weeks going to make a difference?
Well, I mean, it's just, in fact, what I'll try and do is I will try and bring up a cartoon which I was posted by a chap I know on Facebook, and I think that kind of covers just what you're talking about. And I'll try and share this now. So
I think I know which one. I think I know which one you're going to
you've
get.
probably seen it. I'm sure you've seen it.
Is it by Bob something?
Oh God, I can't. Let me just find it for you. Let me just put it on there. Hang on, put it on there, and then I can.
But yeah, as I say,
Karen, yeah.
Just talking to the viewers, anyone, if you've got your any opinion on what's happened today with the extension of the restrictions, just let us know. Obviously, I know this airs predominantly on a paranormal side type streaming. Obviously, we then share it on our own, myself and Andrew. But if you're kind of against it, if you're for it, let us know. We'll discuss it. Right, let's have a look. Yes. I've seen it. I thought you were going to show the one with the goalposts being moved by Boris Johnson.
Well, this is very similar, isn't it? I mean, it's got kind of the goalposts in the middle of the road kind of thing, so not the football match scenario exactly. But I thought that was really good, particularly with the the vaccine little markers with and you've even got these drawn the viruses differently for these variants.
Yes, yeah. And
the absolutely comical thing, that I can't remember whether I noticed it or somebody pointed it out to me, but we've got, let's see, we had the Chinese variant initially, then we've had the Indian variant spoken about, then we've had the Thai variant, and then we've had the so-called Mexican wave. But remember, Chinese, Indian, Thai, Mexican, they're all types of food that we eat.
It's got to be Italy next. It's got to be Italy for the pizza.
Well, it could be. They can't do European countries because that would be, that's just too... Those over there, the Far Eastern countries, anywhere sort of east of, Israel, they're all game, maybe not Russia. They couldn't have a Russian variant particularly because that just wouldn't be right.
I found it interesting that actually India, when they were starting this scaremongering, when they basically started to plant the seed of this being postponed, which some of us could see a long way off a while ago, and they started to share, didn't they, images of people dying in India, the funeral pyres from the sky. Someone sitting on a path with a tank of oxygen. Apparently people were dying out on the streets. And it was proven time and again that these pictures were 2 years old, 3 years old, related to, I think one was related to like a gas leak or something, hence why the person was dead
that's
on the street.
I'd say.
Yeah, from a few years ago. So people could see it a mile off. And then even India came out and said, why do you keep calling this the Indian variant? Because we don't know where
they wanted to sue Facebook.
Yeah, and they questioned the Western governments and said, what are you talking about? And that's why it's now called the Delta variant, or the variant from India. So that should open a few people's eyes, that they've tried it. India have called their bluff, and they're going, oh right, okay, well we'll have to call it something else then. But it on and on it goes. And how do you think people feel now who've had the first vaccine, the second vaccine? They've worn masks all along. They've played by the rules. They haven't seen their families. And then they're sat next to me in a pub who has not played by the rules at all, and they can't do anything that I can't do. What's been the point?
Well, exactly, and you would hope that people are asking themselves this question. But I think one of the things I've found myself saying quite a lot recently, and it's sort of, I think it is true in relation to what you just described, is that people can't admit that they're wrong.
Yes.
I was having a go about David Icke in 9/11, because I did this last sort of chat like this that I did about 3-4 weeks ago with another chap, and we were talking about 9/11. And to me, David Icke is no different from a politician, because he has the same inability to say, "Oh, actually, I got that wrong, didn't I? I need to really sort of work out what the right thing about it is." And this is what everybody is doing as well. Like, as you say, the person next to you in the pub, they haven't said, "Oh shit, you're right, aren't you? Wow, I need to rethink this."
Yeah.
When do you hear somebody say that?
It's rare. It's rare.
Very rare, isn't it?
Yeah, I do hope. I was talking to, I think he's watching Adrian Clegg earlier, and I just said, look, he said, look, what's the answer? What's the answer? And I think my answer is probably should end the show on this note, but why not? My answer would just be simple non-compliance. Just don't play the game anymore. You know, and if someone asks you to wear a mask, don't. Because there's obviously no reason to. Turn down the vaccine, see your family, hug everyone that you meet, and just live life as normal as possible. I've been to a few protests, but I'm now beginning to. What do they achieve? What do they do? They do nothing. They're not interested. The real way around this is to just not comply.
Yeah. I mean, you've got to live your own life really, and not on your own terms. I think that's as true now as it ever was. The pandemic shouldn't really make any difference to that. And obviously when certain services get closed or shut down or restricted, there's not a massive amount you can do about that. The cinema closes, you can't just walk to the cinema and say, I want to go in, let me in, bang on the door. Because even if you did, there'd be nobody there. Yeah. So that's not going to work. I mean, I know I'm being sort of facetious, but you've got to try and, resist, obviously, but then you've got to be accepting of certain things too.
You're right. I mean, there are ways around it, aren't there? When the pubs were closed, I just had a bunch of friends around for drinks, and I didn't really miss it. It was cheaper, saved a lot of money, and movie nights, we can just have friends around and watch movies here at home. There are ways around that. It's the other things. It's the other things that people have stopped doing, like seeing their family, seeing the loved ones, seeing their friends, obeying all these silly rules. I just want to tell you. I just want to tell you a really quick, funny story. As you know, I've been on holiday for a week, and we were in Great Yarmouth, and loads of little cafes. I don't know if you've ever been. And I fancied just a scone. I just wanted a scone, like a mid-morning kind of cup of tea and a scone. Yeah. So. We went to this little place and they got like a marquee outside. So it was just like a little tent, but it was outside, completely open air. And a few empty tables, and this lady's blocking the way. And she came up to us and she said, in or out? And I said, we'll just go out. We'll sit there. And there was a table within 3 yards of where I was stood. I said, we'll just sit there. And she said, do you have any masks? And I said, no, I don't need them, do I? Because we're outside. And she said, no, you got to wear masks. And I said, no, but we're outside. And she went, I don't make the rules. And I said, no, you just enforce them, which is worse. And then the family behind her said, well, we don't have masks. And then she got desperate and she said, well, if you're exempt, that's fine. No one mentioned exempt. But she said, if you're exempt, I can let you in. Almost as if to say, just tell me you're exempt. It's like, no, too late now. I said, I'll just go next door. So we went next door, walked inside, no masks, not a problem. For every business that turns you down, there's a business that will accept you. And but that was a very rare occurrence. On the whole, it was a very enjoyable holiday. Very enjoyable holiday, actually. It felt normal in the most part. I just want to talk about this, Andrew. G7.
Oh yes, yeah.
I thought we could just discuss this a little bit. So in absolutely no particular order, I'm not sure what's being shown here. Let's just see if I can change. Right, there she is, our beloved Overlord. So, what do you make of this? What are your thoughts on this?
There's several thoughts really. The obvious ones, that everyone's been memeing, and and I picked up, I think, that one of we'll maybe get to the climate change thing in a minute, but so this, if you look at, we've got to ask ourselves who took this picture. That was a question. After the obvious thing, I thought, well, who took this? That's the first question. Second is, who decided to let it out? Was this taken by one of the people that's serving drinks or whatever they're doing? So I think in a couple of these shots, we see people in the background with masks on.
I've got some of those. Yep.
Right. So I suspect this is probably, it is another, because I noticed there was a story that, I don't know if it was you that posted this story, there was a bit of a news clip when the presenter was hassling one of the leaders saying, well, you weren't social distancing, you weren't wearing masks, blah, 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 and that's the obvious thing. The presenter didn't say there was no pandemic, there is no evidence of a pandemic, which is of course what he should be saying. So it kind of just, I don't know, it's meant to perhaps just reinforce the division and the us and them situation, perhaps.
I'd like to just play devil's advocate. I mean, let's just kind of scroll through a few of the photos that I've got here. I'm just going to play devil's advocate because obviously you and most people watching this will know my opinions. They're outside, and groups of up to 30 can gather outside. But then there are other questions. Did they self-isolate when they came into the country for 10 days? Some of these people have come from amber countries, maybe even red countries.
Right.
Did they self-isolate when they got here? No. Someone answered that by saying, well, they've taken their test. Yeah, but when I come back to the UK, I have to isolate for 10 days and take a test on the 2nd and the 8th day. So I still have to take tests and isolate. So what's the difference here? Why are they able to do this? I mean, and then that picture really stood out to me. Obviously, it's an older picture of children because they've stopped wearing the masks now in school. On the whole, but what a ridiculous, excuse my French, piss take.
Indeed, yes. I mean, that's what I put. I made up a caption saying, "Well, you're not going to have to go to the toilet as much, because they've been taking the piss so much." That was my caption, or not so much on the picture itself, but just my posting. So yeah, and that too, and I always ask myself, well, who makes these memes? I suppose I've made one or two myself, certainly, but some of these memes almost seem done to stir things up.
Absolutely. I mean, this one here, and this is the thing for me. I think I made this point a few shows when we did it a few shows back. I think the Union Six Nations was on, and I don't really watch rugby union. I'm a league man, but they were stood on the pitch 2 meters apart singing the national anthem, and the subs were on the bench wearing masks while warming up. And I thought, what is this? Because they're stood 2 meters apart, but when the ref blows his whistle, they're spitting in each other's faces and gouging each other's eyes out and rolling around on top of each other. So why are they stood 2 meters apart, and why are they wearing masks? The answer to that, in my opinion, is virtue signaling. And you've got here, for the cameras, is a perfect way of putting it. For the cameras, not for the cameras. Why are they elbow bumping or whatever? I mean, I doubt Biden knows his elbow from his arse, to be honest. And I think their Macron is actually holding him up. I don't think it's a friendly gesture. I think he's just trying to hold him up.
Probably right, yeah.
But for me, it is simply for the cameras. And here we go again. Bumping elbows for the camera. This is obviously a camera opportunity, the way they're set up. But why? Why are these pictures being released? I think it's a very good point you raised there, Andrew. Who's taking them, and why are they being allowed to be released?
Yeah, and I mean, if you take it that these have been released by some, kind of whistleblower with a conscience, then I don't know, why isn't there some commentary to go along with that? That we're hearing these released by such and such, who's disgusted with these people, and maybe give a bit of inside. Like you said, none of these people self-isolated and going through all of that.
No,
we haven't had much of that commentary either in the media. So this is just more, I think, shit stirring and division stirring.
Absolutely, right before they made this announcement, which of course they knew they were going to make.
Well, exactly. I mean, you've tied the two obvious things together, which even I hadn't thought of. It's literally right before. 2 days or whatever it is before the Bojo nonsense.
Now you think about this. If I'm at work, I've got a hay fever, so my nose is a bit runny. If you're at work and I don't know, you've got a meeting coming up, you plan for that meeting for a long time. It's a very difficult thing to do, to go into work one morning, be hit with a shed load of data, and then be able to process that data and go and talk to someone about it. Now, if you think Boris Johnson has been preparing for this G7 meeting, he's been busy with this for the last probably week, if you include the preparations and everything as well. And he's really had a day, essentially one working day to process everything that Sage would have told him in order to stand in front of the cameras tonight and tell the nation that we're going to push it back another 4 weeks. That tells me that this has been planned much longer. But they always make out like it's such a like we've looked at the data like almost within the last 2 days, and it's just not right, and we need to push back. It's clearly been planned for a long time, clearly, and this photo makes me laugh here, where you've got those two waiters in the background stood with their masks on outside, which is stupid enough as it is. But why is no one else wearing masks? Why should they be made to wear masks?
Absolutely.
Just doesn't make sense. And this one, Andrew, this one really made me laugh. Passengers on first fully vaccinated North American cruise test positive for COVID. So what is the point in the vaccine passports?
Yeah,
What is the point in saying you can only, I know P&O are doing it, you can only come on our cruise ships if you're fully vaccinated. Well, where's that going to get you? You know,
exactly. And I mean, you know, the thing that of course, this breaking 9/11, whoever it is, we presume this is some kind of alternative commentary website. What should be on that blog, if it isn't, obviously I haven't checked this particular blog or Twitter feed or whatever it is, but what should be on there are the 2 court cases, one in Weimar in Germany and one in Portugal, where the PCR test has been ruled as fraudulent or, you know, not fit for purpose. They threw those cases out. One involved a couple that was quarantined, and they won their case, and the other was a parent who'd complained about the use of masks in schools, and she won her case. And then the federal judge in Germany came in and they confiscated the phone of the other judge and his laptop. And but then that he was sort of had some case against him, but that he won that. That was one. And then there was another case in Austria, which I haven't got the details for, that against the PCR test. You know, so people have got to now start posting more widely about what Rainer Fulmich's trying to do with the with the Nuremberg 2. That he's trying to set up, and he apparently is making some sort of progress with that. Again, I don't know how that's going to turn out, but I like what he's doing, and I think if people want some kind of dose of hopium, then go and have a listen to him, because I've got to like him more and more as I've listened to him more and more. Because, for example, he was even in the last interview I was watching, he was even talking about how much more interesting his new life is than his old life. So he referred to having an old life and a new life, you know, in terms of the sort of people he's been interacting with.
There's a lot to be said for that. This has certainly kind of eliminated a few people out of my life who I don't miss. And
also, I've got another video that somebody sent me on Facebook. I haven't seen this generally posted, actually. It just came in Messenger. So like a minute long, but probably less. Yes, 1 minute. Okay. And I think this was probably just before Boris set out for the Cornwall. I think this was 2 or 3 days ago. I'll share this. I'll try and switch the sound over as well. So you can hear this.
Just while you're doing that, Andrew, I'm just going to show up a few people's comments.
Okay.
So this is I've got a different stream, so I can see some people's answers. This is Marty Matthews in Ireland here, and they're blabbering about the Delta India variant. Do you think there will be a false flag cyber attack or food shortage? The Ice Age Farmer YouTube channel discusses this a lot. I'd be interested in your opinion on that. I mean, the false flag cyber attack, I don't know, but the food shortages.
Yeah, we'll talk a bit about that. Because there's another thing I probably want to throw into that thing. Right, so I'm going to try and share this video. It's 1 minute long, so see how this works. Yep. Should come up on your screen now, I think. There we go.
Add that in.
And this is just before Boris goes out. The words here.
Is that modern, Andrew? Is that new? Because I remember seeing something like that.
I think it's from within the last couple of days. It was sent to me a couple of days ago. Certainly, I don't know exactly when it was taken, but I would imagine that is within the last couple of days.
If it is, then fantastic.
And I mean, looking at that, I got a good feeling from that in terms of that didn't look like a renter mob to me. There weren't any people with like orange baseball caps in there that I could see. There were quite a few cyclists there. It looks like there'd been a cycling group perhaps that said, come on, let's just go and blockade the bloody thing. We're just some cyclists, we'll go and blockade him, just give him a bit of jip, and tell him that we're not very happy with what's going on. I don't think it was staged. It didn't look staged to me, and obviously we need to be very wary of that. But I couldn't see any evidence of them staging, and they all look like normal people just with their bikes.
There were protests today, I believe, outside Parliament as well.
Yeah, there were.
Which is good to see. But I don't think it will achieve anything, personally.
Maybe not, but at least it shows that enough people are turning up there, and they weren't creating particular trouble. They were just saying, look, we know there's stuff going on that shouldn't be going on. How much those people actually know, we don't know, obviously. But, I took a little bit of heart from that, in that there are enough people that are now bothered to go and do that.
Yeah, well, I think I saw someone say the other day, basically furlough is you being paid to shut up, basically, and to not rebel. Which it's also the sort of unnamed version of the universal basic income. Oh, it's the precursor to what is to come.
Yeah, we may have talked about that before.
Yeah, we I think the problem is, if you were to take away the furlough payments now, then I think you'd see a much more bigger uprising. I genuinely believe the only people who are holding on to this now are extreme left-winged people and people who are probably on furlough, getting paid 100% or 80% or whatever it is of their salary, to essentially sit around watching Netflix all day.
Exactly.
And that's really where the compliance is coming from. Just a few more comments here. So this is Nick Treadwell. How you doing, Nick? Travel abroad is the big one. People thought that taking the vaccine would solve it, but people still need to take a test. Absolutely, I can go abroad if I show a negative test. I don't need to have a vaccine in the majority of the places. Again, Nick mentioned here that he was in a chip shop at the seaside, and the first thing that the person asked when he walked in was, "Where's your mask?" "No, hello, sir. How can I help you?" It is that, isn't it? The customer service has gone out the window, and it's an easy excuse for bad. I mean, where in my job I deal with a lot of kind of external third-party people, and the amount of time it's, "Oh, sorry for the delay, sorry for this, sorry for that, we're short-staffed." It's like, no, you're not. It's just an easy excuse for piss-poor customer service nowadays, I think.
Yeah. I mean, just going back to the UBI thing, this story came up a couple of weeks ago now, I think it is, 15th of May, so it's about a month ago. So, just look at that. And the people walking with masks, they're straight in there. What's masks got to do with UBI? Well, obviously, and then there's a whole blurb on that, and somebody's promoting it as well. So there you are, that's the BBC again. They're obviously fully embedded with Agenda 21, Agenda 2030, and all of that. So, there you are. I mean, I've probably got a few other things we'll share on that. But somebody was saying about the what was the question about the?
Oh yes, we want to talk about that. So the food shortages.
Food shortages. Well, I mean, that was talked about at least a year ago, and of course, when they had the first lockdown, there were some shortages. I remember going into the shop and the shelves being not exactly cleared out, but they were very much reduced, and I only just managed to get what I wanted at that particular time. Certainly, that seems to be happening in India, where people are starving. So there's food shortages in India. And will they pull that sort of thing? Well, I think it rather depends on how many people are staying with the program, which is difficult to judge. We've certainly seen a few more doctors coming out and speaking out, new doctors.
Young as well, young doctors as well. Yeah,
there was a GP that spoke out. I posted his video. I think he resigned in like January or February or something from his GP practice, from his job for life. And again, I think he's a sincere testimony. And so there are a few others that have, they're actually starting now to say, no, we're not going along with this. But I don't honestly know how big that is in terms of the general population. Going through a few other little indicators, though, I've done some more leaflets. People want leaflets. Got one here, actually. I had about 20,000 of these. They're on my website and stuff. These done. And a lady came and had a whole box of about 3,000 off me the other day. So that was locally. So and I definitely got a big response to the last lot of leaflets. Just people I've never heard of before, and they were willing to go out and deliver leaflets, 500,000 leaflets and that sort of thing. So there's definitely that, but there is still, the main gauge is obviously when you go to the shops, just like you've been describing in Great Yarmouth, wherever. People are still saying, "Where's your mask?" and they're still wearing masks. I happened to go into the chemist a couple of days ago, and it was near the end of the day. It was about 10 to 6, just before it closed. And there were two people that came in after I did, and neither of them were wearing masks, and I wasn't either. So that was quite interesting, because every time I've been in there, everyone was all masked up, customers and staff. So, but I think that's probably just random. Going back to the food, I don't know about food shortages. There's a cyber polygon exercise on July the 9th at the World Economic Forum. Are they going to shut down parts of the internet? Well, we actually saw an outage the other day, didn't we? I don't know if you heard about this, where some image servers dropped off the net. So there's some eBay outages and some Twitter outages, I think, and part of the UK government's website went down. So again, they can pull stunts like this. Be ready for this sort of thing, folks. Once you've got all your money in the online bank, and all your everything else is online, they just need to pull the online, and then the internet, and then they can do what they like. So I've got plenty of stuff online. I'd be a bit stuffed if they shut down parts of the internet. I'd be as stuffed as most other people. I'm not particularly off grid, really. So I think we have to consider that's a strong possibility. And going along that theme a little bit, we can point out all these things about the G8, and all that stuff that's going on. But I don't know behind the scenes if there are really any white hats, and if there are white hats, how much power they've got. We hear stories about the sort of follow on from Q, where I saw a posting the other day. I didn't repost it though, where somebody had said, "Oh, the military is with Trump, not with Biden, and they've just got this go ahead to do something." Blah blah blah.
I mean, how long is that going to go on for, though? I mean,
well, I don't know. I wouldn't blow it off totally, certainly, but there's certain things which have come and gone, and we haven't seen what they've claimed, but there were certainly some unusual things about the inauguration. And they've been saber rattling a little bit, but nothing has really happened. They've been talking about having an attack, China attacking the US. That's come up a few times.
Yes, yeah.
And then of course, they're going to bomb another. Not Syria, is it? There was another country that they wanted to go back into that Trump had got them out of.
Was it Iran?
It might have been Syria. It might have been Iran. Yeah.
Do you just want to share that article that you sent me yesterday? I think it was yesterday, about Biden being God, let me just see if I can find it that you sent. Biden was recruited to become agent of Chinese Communist Party.
Right, yes, that was on LifeSite News. That's a pretty good site. They're generally okay. I've got that there now, so let me bring that up.
Oh, so this is slightly off topic from COVID, but the one thing I've learned is it isn't. It is all connected, and it's. I think if you step back enough and once you know the script, you can see how it is all connected. Again, just while you're finding out, Andrew, I'll just bring up a few comments. So Marty says, do check out the Ice Age Farmer on YouTube. He's left a link there in the comments. In Ireland, they had a cyber attack on their health service. Kathy Brennan says here in the States too. I think she's alluding to a cyber attack again. Steve Stringham, it's a shame how ugly people have become through this pandemic. Absolutely. It's brought out the worst in, people call us selfish, but it's actually those who are exhibiting selfish behaviour.
It's a dehumanization agenda. People have been dehumanized. They've really just, get with the program, follow orders. You're a robot. Do as a robot does. Yeah, and they don't see it. Because they think that everyone's under threat. So, I mean, let's just say, for example, that Boris wakes up tomorrow morning and says, "Oh, I can't be bothered with this anymore," and then goes in front of the cameras and says, like on live BBC, "This is all a scam. You've all been had. You know, I still don't know whether that'd have any noticeable
No,
effect.
no.
You know,
All of a sudden, it would be us saying he's telling the truth, and all the people that used to think he was
yeah,
telling the truth would become the
yeah,
conspiracy theorists saying, "Oh no, he's lying."
yeah,
And that's a really interesting point, actually, Andrew, because there's so many people who, you say, "What do you make of government?" Oh, well, they're lying. All they ever do is
yeah,
lie. I wouldn't trust a
yeah,
government. But the second they come on and start talking COVID, they trust every single word
yeah,
that they say. They believe everything they say. And then the second that the government starts to do things that they don't agree with, they're back to being liars again. If they make the children wear masks at school, they're, oh God, we're not doing that. You're a liar. But then in the next breath, they tell you that more people are dying, so you need to stay at home, and they're clapping, saying, oh yeah, that's the right thing to do. And it's like, well, they're either lying or they're not. You can't pick and choose. What they're telling the truth about. This is all one agenda, and if they're lying about one thing, why wouldn't they lie about another?
yeah. I mean, again, you've got to wonder though, because like the other thing that's come up this week is
Yes.
that Don Busby's dropped dead after a short illness. Now he posted on his Twitter. I got the link off. I picked this up in a BitChute video that just came up on the BitChute feed, and he'd been vaccinated, I think, on like 14th of March or something, and then he just says he died after a short illness.
Yeah,
And he was
and
53 years old.
It was just after. Yeah, he posted saying this didn't hurt a bit or something. He posted.
That's right.
And then
That's right.
This isn't too long after another BBC presenter.
That's it. Yeah, no, it was Lisa Shaw.
That's it. Yeah.
BBC Newcastle. She was 44. So what are the BBC doing? What are they going to do? Are they going to just wait until more of these people drop dead?
Well, let's not forget the footballer Eriksson for Denmark, who collapsed, and then it came out that the Danish team had the vaccine 10 days ago, obviously prior to the tournament, and he's just happened to drop down cardiac arrest on the pitch. A 20-odd, 30-odd year old, as healthy and as fit as he possibly could be, dropping down having a cardiac arrest just after having the vaccine. Is that more than a coincidence?
Well, indeed, and of course the media is just saying, well, the vaccine incidents are all coincidence, or they're strongly implying that, and the COVID deaths are all, vaccine deaths don't really matter, COVID deaths do, and they've got to maintain that narrative, because if there's any sort of departure from that, then it's a real problem.
Death within 28 days of a positive test, whether you've been hit by a buzz or whatever, elicits a COVID death certificate. So why aren't they investigating deaths within 28 days of a vaccine?
Yeah. And again, you just have to look at the government's own figures. I've put this on that leaflet that I've made, that look at the figures, I think, I don't know what it is, about 1,000 people, even on the supposedly unreported figures. I think 1,000 people have died after having the vaccine now, something like that, just in the UK.
Just in the UK, yeah.
And there's a chap come out today. I'm not quite sure whether to trust him. A US doctor called McCulloch, I think his name is.
Yes, someone's actually just put that, Andrew.
50,
listen
50, he
listen to
50,
Dr.
000.
McCulloch on BitChute.
That's him. He said like 58,000 have died in the US from the vaccine, essentially. Or I might be. I shouldn't say that because I might be misquoting him because I haven't actually listened to his exact words. But
these are just reported, though, Andrew. Don't forget. There were so many kind of adverse reactions aren't reported to yellow card, so you have to assume that that's only a small fraction of the actual number.
And I've certainly had several people say to me that they, like the next door neighbour has dropped dead, or their friend's mum has dropped dead, or had a stroke or something. I was speaking to a work colleague the other day. Her mum's just had a stroke. Now, I didn't ask her if she'd had the vax, but I had to wonder, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And so we know that this is lethal to some people, at least. Why would you want it anyway? For the reasons that you said in the opening few minutes, it doesn't do any good. They say it doesn't provide immunity. They had this news round broadcast a few days ago, which several people complained. This woman from Wellcome Trust, although she didn't declare that, of course, said it's 100% safe, this vaccine, for children. So, go and have it. It's not 100% safe.
No, it's not.
Way.
I mean, I on the subject of people we know. I mean, my nan had it against my best wishes, but she's a grown woman. She had the first jab, and she went into hospital with a clot, and she then went and had the second jab, and her whole leg turned black. Luckily, she's still okay. I've got people at work. the one guy now, after his second one, still regularly wakes up with night sweats and thinks that's normal. But again, that hasn't been reported to the yellow card.
No.
And then another lady at work who's had her jabs is now isolating with COVID. And you'll forgive me when I burst out laughing when I found out. And you just think, and they all know my thoughts, and we don't really talk about it for the sake of getting into arguments.
Well, this is it.
And then there's a guy that I sit next to every day, and he's his wife's cousin, I think, had the vaccine, and then she collapsed in the garden. She's 30-something years old, collapsed in the garden the other day, and is now awaiting a heart transplant. A heart transplant.
Wow.
At the age of 30 odd. And apparently the hospital actually said, we can't find anything wrong with you. We have to assume it is a reaction to the vaccine.
There's a few that have honestly said that. And, and as other people have pointed out, that this kind of happened in 1976 in the US, where there was a national vaccination campaign for swine flu back then. You can go and read about that. 25 people were said to have died, 25, and they stopped the whole program.
Yes.
25 deaths that were linked to the vaccine.
Yeah, I saw earlier.
What the hell is going on?
I saw earlier with the CDC, it's something like 50 adverse reactions or 50 deaths or something is enough to halt a program, or should be enough to halt a program. We're now into the thousands.
And so people are using this word genocide, and genocide implies perhaps tens or hundreds of thousands of people in a given country or whatever, or continent perhaps. But we're getting to those numbers, I think, seemingly now, from what I've been looking at and hearing.
I think so, yeah.
And also the thing that's come out, you may have seen that report that came out. In fact, it came out probably a while ago, but it seems to have been reasserted recently, the deaths with the midazolam, where the government had actually ordered extra doses of midazolam.
Oh, for the care home.
Yeah. And this Jackie Dubois, I think is her name, or Dubois, I forget her name. She was on with David Icke, which of course I'm not too pleased about that myself, because of the sort of pain that he attracts to stories. But Richie Allen, who I'm not a big fan of, but he's not the worst. He had 4 family members.
Yes, I heard that. Yeah,
you listen to that. Terrible, horrible. This is going on. And I've heard similar stories in the past of hospitals kind of just saying about old people, we can just leave them and they'll just die. I've heard of that sort of thing before, but that one chap happened to both his mother and his father because of COVID isolation, and that's just that's awful.
Right. I mean, I'm sure I've told you this before, but a very close friend of mine, she's a paramedic. And she went out during the start of all this, and it was her training, so she kind of joined just at the right time. And she said, I mean, she's been going out and about, and while this has all been going on, she's probably been to 5 people who might have died with COVID, not of. She said the majority of people that she came across who were dead or dying at home during the first lockdown, particularly, were people that were died because they were too scared to go to hospital because they were told not to burden the NHS. They were too scared to go to hospital because they're worried about catching COVID. So they've kind of sat at home having a stroke or whatever, or kind of with cancer or whatever, and just died at home because they didn't want to go to the hospital and burden the NHS. And she also said that it's all for show. She said when the cameras are on us, we social distance and wear our masks, and when the cameras aren't on us, it's hugs, slaps on the back, and just general normal day-to-day life for them and for the police. I
mean, I think thought I had there is that for a lot of people, they don't, they have a fairly sort of isolated life. I mean, it would, if I wasn't doing this sort of thing and then coming and talking to folks like you, my life would be extremely insular. I'm pretty reclusive. I don't really interact with many people, so the world could seem actually fairly normal for me with not much going on.
Yeah.
If I didn't know all of this stuff, so I think it's like that for a lot of people, which is then of course a blockage to them actually seeing what is really going on.
Yeah.
And by the time they do, is it already too late? That's, I think, what a lot of us are asking ourselves. They want to do this great reset, and they've been talking about that, I think, for at least a year now.
Yeah.
Openly.
Yeah.
You know, are they going to get away
Openly,
with
yeah,
it?
yeah.
You know,
Yeah, of course they will. It's.
you know.
I had this discussion. Me and my dad had a bit of a falling
Mm,
out
mm,
the other day because he basically accused me of giving up, and I said I haven't given up. If I'd given up, then I'd be getting vaxxed. I'd be wearing masks. I'd be going along with it all. It's just I've been doing this for a very long time now. Not just COVID, but
yeah, yeah, yeah.
other things, as you know, as have you for much longer than I have. And you get to a point where you just think people are people, and you're not going to wait. Anyone that would have seen this for what it is now would have seen this by now. That no one else is going to come round. Protesting isn't going to do anything. You've just got to just not comply and realise that you're in prison, but make it as comfortable as you possibly can. And
Yeah,
I understand how that can come across as defeatist and giving up, but I
I
don't
think
think it
there is
is.
another factor is you can look to form these other communities, and I've heard of quite a few people doing that. You know, based on sort of common law.
Yeah,
The other chap that I was speaking to, he's trying to organise something, although he lives in central London. But
right.
he's looking at the sort of land acquisition and that sort of thing. You know, I don't know exactly how far he's got because he didn't go into detail, but you know, and of course, Richard Hall has made a few secrets
Yeah,
that he's been doing his house and stuff, and he's been trying to go off grid. But of course, I don't think it's any secret that he's in the middle of Merthyr Tydfil. You know, so how much off grid can he get there? I don't know. Maybe he can do it. You know, but you know, so I think I've certainly been trying to wrap my head around those sorts of things a bit more mentally, thinking, well, what if they did pull the internet plug? What if I did lose? You know, 'cause I'm 56 now, so I built up quite a bit of pension and stuff like that. You know, and I'm thinking in the back, I might end up losing all of that. You know, I might just
yeah,
go. It just could poop. You know, it just could
yeah,
get deleted for all I know. You know,
yeah,
and I think mentally I've got to prepare myself for that. I'm hoping it won't happen.
yeah,
You know, but I think anybody who looks around and knows what we know, and if you're in a similar situation to me, you know, I'm still plugged into the matrix by and large, physically, if not mentally, you know, so to speak, or consciously. You've got to prepare yourself that you might lose nearly everything. You know,
yeah.
uh,
I think a lot of it is scaremongering though, more than just I think just to keep us in a constant
I
state of
do.
fear,
But
really.
what I mean is that if you can accept that you can lose that stuff, then you can get rid of the fear. They can't scare you with it. So at one
Yes,
level, yeah, it's scaremongering. Yeah, I agree. I know what you mean. But if you could say, look, okay, I'm going to lose all that, you know, sod it, you know,
but it doesn't
uh,
matter. Yeah,
yeah, you know, as long as I've got food, water, bit of entertainment, good people, good conversation, you know, those are the things that I need to live. You know, and have a
yeah.
fair quality of life from those things. You know,
I've just shared this, but and interestingly, and thanks to everyone watching, we've had more interaction on this and more people coming in and going out and stuff than we ever have had on a COVID
right?
episode. Um, I'd like to think that's because people are tuning in who wouldn't before,
Yeah,
and they are
yeah.
beginning to maybe want to question it. Steve, but do you feel that the vaccination destroys our immune system, and that's why people are not feeling better after being vaccinated? I don't know. I mean, this whole
Well,
spike
I
protein.
think, yeah. I mean, you know, when you get into this and you start reading around a lot, for example, there's a very interesting book which I read, and I got in touch. The author's got in touch with me. Actually, it's called "What Really Makes You Ill" by David Parker and Dawn Lester. It's 800 flipping pages. This book, it's massive. But
Wow.
to summarize that, what they argue is that it's toxins and toxic, both toxic energy, if you will, if I can put it like that, and toxic chemicals that make you ill. There isn't really bacterial or viral disease, and you don't really have an immune system. You have a maintenance system, they call it, you know, which I think is quite a good way of looking at it.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to rephrase that question very slightly. Does the vaccine affect your maintenance system? Well, if you're injecting ethylene glycol or whatever it is, toxic substances into your body, and if we take the idea of homeopathy, where you just inject very tiny quantities of whatever it is, you know, a few molecules or something, and that can have a huge effect on your health. I think we've got to look at that in terms of toxins as well. So I think the vaccine is a toxic substance. It's harmful to your health, and I think the benefits are not really benefits. Any benefits from vaccines, generally, the COVID one and others, it's probably placebo. It's perceived. In other words, people think it's going to make them immune, and so it adds to that. It doesn't really affect their immunity, because the whole theory of vaccines is highly questionable when you look at the work of Pasteur compared to Béchamp, going back to the sort of 1800s, and then you look at how the Rockefellers, built up the whole sort of allopathic military medical medicine scenario. That the whole history of that really indicates that they were at war with humanity on that.
I think I don't. In my opinion, it's no secret that having negative energy and living in fear essentially can make you feel ill. I mean, even just mentally. And you think we've been. I know we had Mark on who did a great segment about gaslighting and stuff. It'd be really good to get him back on. But we've been having that now for nearly 18 months or whatever it is, and people have just been gaslit again today. Have your vaccine, do this, do that, and the 21st of June. And 1 week before you're allowed your freedom back, they snatch that carrot away, or they move the goalpost, or whatever metaphor you want to use, and that can't be good for your immune system. It can't be good for your. I saw an article the other day about locking children up for a year has destroyed their immune system. I mean, my son goes to a different park every day. He meets up with a lot of different children and family members, and his favourite food is dirt. So I imagine his immune system's going to be fine. But there are children you have to kind of feel sorry for them, whose parents have brought into all this. And 2-3 year olds wearing masks. And I hear, they're just wearing it because they want to copy mummy and daddy. No, Larry doesn't sit next to me drinking a lager because he wants to copy mummy and daddy. I tell him no lager. I say no lager until you're at least 3. So I'm sure mummy and daddy could say no mask for you. And so I don't think it's that. I think it's the parents enforcing it onto the children. And I think the negative energy, I think you're absolutely right. It can have a bad impact. And then coupling that with putting toxins into your body will destroy.
I may have used this phrase on one of the programs with you before, but stealing it from a chap called Dr. Leonard Horowitz, he used this phrase of it's bio-spiritual warfare. That's a phrase which covers what it is and what it has been. It's intensified. It's been bio-spiritual warfare for at least 100 years. But now it's just intensified, and it's been global for as you say 18 months or 15 months, or whatever it is. Bio-spiritual warfare. And you've got to look at it that way, and therefore you've got to build your own defenses and build your own arsenal against that. In other words, your spiritual arsenal, and that involves, for example, tuning your spider senses, or whatever you want to call them. Is this person trustworthy? Because, like, for example, we mentioned this Dr. McCullough guy, and when I listened to him, I thought he seems okay, but I don't get a totally good feeling about him. So is he just going to stir the shit up a bit and then kind of not really make any big difference? And like I'm saying about Dr. Rainer Fulmick, I've had a good feeling. I was pretty neutral about him at first, but now I've had a good feeling about him, and that's the way I look at everything. I'm trying to use my intuition as well as
of course,
sort of and so developing those senses is good, and questioning. I get quite a few emails saying, what do you think of this person, Andrew? What do you think of this video? What do you think of that? And if I've got time, I will answer, because I'm trying to help other people. And I'll say, well, I think this, but I could be wrong, sort of thing. So or I'll tell them what I've already found out. I mean, somebody was writing to me about this Joseph P. Farrell chap a couple of days ago. I found out quite a lot about him, some of which I've put in my book. So stuff like that. And bringing it on that subject, actually, the other thing that's come up in the last few weeks, which is kind of slightly more in line with this show, is the UFO issue. And they've been showing these Pentagon, releasing these Pentagon videos and stuff. And that whole thing there, that is a CIA-run psychological operation, right? Top to bottom, involving Nick Pope. If there's any people listening to this who think that Nick Pope is above board, forget that idea now
Yeah.
and go and look at his website, where is the title of his webpage is paid spokesperson on his own website.
Yes,
right?
I think we'll do that. We'll do that as a next show. Because
Okay.
the last show I did was with Dave Hodrian from Boothfog, and he came on to talk a little bit about the drip feeding of disclosure and how that's happening over there while everyone's focusing on COVID and no one's really focusing on what's happening. But we not a whole show on Nick Pope, although that would be interesting. We'll just talk about kind of UFOs and how it's a CIA. Psychological operation.
I'll mention it here, though. We can go into more detail another time. But the thing that made me sure that there's stuff going on at a big level, deep level with that, and it's quite important, more important than we might initially consider. It's not just more news fodder. Is they're trying to spin out this narrative that they've released this video, and it's these craft. They don't know what they are. That's a lie. They know exactly what they are. Right, and they're trying to say it's a UFO threat. We need to do something about this UFO threat. They haven't used the word alien, I don't think, but UFO threat, UAP threat.
UAP, yeah.
So they've tried to change the language again, which of course is what they've been doing with the pandemic, where they've redefined what a pandemic was. They did that. They've redefined what herd immunity is. They've redefined what a vaccine is.
Yeah.
They've redefined what a case is, a medical case is. They've redefined that. So they're trying to redefine what a UFO is to a UAP instead. But that wasn't my main point. There is a guy who's been going around for 20 odd years talking about how the US military have built a UFO, and he gave it two different names: the ARV, the Alien Reproduction Vehicle, or the Fluxliner. And this guy is Mark McCandlish, and I first came across him in 2003 in Stephen Greer's Disclosure Project. Now, as part and parcel of this so-called drip feed disclosure, whatever you want to call it, which there isn't any drip feed disclosure coming from the US government. There are drip feed psyops. That's all there are. They don't do disclosure. You have to find the stuff out for yourself. Yeah. Any disclosure might come from some people who feel they've got some good information they want to give out, like, for example, Edgar Fouché or Wilbert Smith, for example, who I've written bits about quite a bit. But so what happened to Mark McCandlish? Well, he was due to testify before some Senate committee hearing or something, or some Senate investigation group into Black Pro or something. But on April the 13th, he was found with 2 shotgun wounds in his head.
Suicide?
He was found with 2 shotgun wounds to the head, dead.
But suicide?
Well, yeah, so that the implication was suicide.
Yeah, which of course it isn't.
Now, he's been going around telling this story for 20 years. And it just so happens that we've got Chris Mellon and Nick Pope and various others floating around. Louis Elizondo is another guy. Louis Elizondo's dad, if you watch Dark Journalist, he was involved in the Bay of Pigs, and he ended up in a Cuban jail. That was Louis Elizondo's dad, according to Dark Journalist Daniel List. So those are the types of UFO disclosures that you're dealing with, right?
Yeah.
And Mark McCandlish is the type you want to be dealing with, except he's been killed. So
and they put in these paxes almost, these frontmen. I mean, we've discussed off air about Nick Pope. I think we both have very similar opinions to Nick Pope. I mean, I've just briefly want to say I've seen him on shows where he's talking about how UFOs aren't real, and I've seen him on shows where he's talking about how UFOs are real. It's whoever's paying his wage at the time, really.
So there was an interview between Daniel List, Dark Journalist, and Joseph Farrell. It's a couple of people sent me, actually. I don't trust Joseph Farrell for the reason I won't go into. But again, some of these interviews, they do bring out certain concepts that you think, and he did actually come out with, I think it was nearly a 2-hour interview, and he said one thing which I thought, I think he's made a good observation there. He talked about, well, let's just temporarily, join together the COVID operation and the UFO operation. Let's see, what's the COVID talking about now with these vaccines and stuff? Talking about RNA and DNA and things, and altering your DNA. How about the Pentagon come out and say, oh, well, actually, we've discovered that there are aliens and they've been here for a while and they look just like us. So what we need is a DNA test for everybody, to identify who's the aliens and who isn't. And when you put that in terms of all this
testing,
ID 2020 and all of that, and testing, all that bollocks. Yeah, I think Joseph Farrell actually has made quite a good observation there. They could almost get away with that. Maybe not now, but after another era of bullshit with aliens and and Chris Mellon and Nick Pope's blabbing to Lorraine on Good Morning Britain, where they said a few weeks ago, is it time to ditch your unvaccinated friends? That's a really Good Morning Britain, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the sort of thing they're up to. So when you've got lying, psychotic media that don't tell you when people have been suicided because they want to tell the truth about the black programs and what the government really knows about the UFO stuff, right? I think they could get away with this idea of the alien invasion. Either the aliens are sort of partly invisible or they've infiltrated us. We've only just discovered this, the last 5 years. We didn't want to tell anyone until we had this DNA test, that everyone can take now. We could do it with your vaccination, to save time or something. When you get your vax done, you can have a DNA test, and then
I think
so there you are.
Yeah, we'll leave that bit there though, because that's the next show. So I don't want to. That's the trailer for the next show for those that are watching.
Maybe.
Yeah. So we've effectively run out of time. That's flown by as always. Do you just want to end really quickly on 4 weeks apparently until we can open all up again? He's postponed it by 4 weeks. Is that going to happen? Or is, I don't know, the Timbuktu variant going to appear within the next 4 weeks and it gets pushed back again? Can we kiss goodbye to 2021?
I wouldn't like to say. The only observations I'll make is that I've been listening to Amazing Polly quite a bit, and Canada is in a really serious lockdown. They've still got nothing open apparently apart from basic food shops. So I asked myself, well, why is that? Why are we sort of talking about fully opening up here in the UK, even if it hasn't quite happened, and in Canada's in total lockdown? So again, it's weird. And what are people going to do? How much will they really take? Even if they don't know what we know, if they're told they're going to go into lockdown again or some version of that, how are they going to react? Even with furlough, I don't know. I really don't know, because I'm not a good person to ask that question. So because I don't really talk to anybody.
No, yeah. I could answer the question, and nothing's going to happen in 4 weeks. It's all a load of bollocks.
Probably right.
And hopefully more and more people will see it for what it is. But probably not. There's always going to be enough people to keep it going. But yeah, listen, Andrew, thank you very much for coming on. It was quite short notice getting you on. Let's have a chat about hopefully doing that show on UFOs and stuff. That could be quite interesting.
Okay.
And everybody watching, for everybody that's tuned in, if you're watching now, if you're going to watch it at a later time, I will attempt to upload this to YouTube. But I've had 2 videos removed from YouTube, one COVID video and one video on 9/11 where I apparently incited violence by talking about 9/11. What a load of rubbish that is. So Andrew, for some reason, can upload these videos to YouTube and gets away with it. So I don't know how he does it, but he can maybe let me in on a secret.
I had one of my 5-year-old 9/11 videos deleted today by YouTube. It's been there for 5 years or 6 years, I think.
There we go. Today, so you're not immune then. So you are.
No, definitely not immune. It's
I'll be honest. It's not very nice to see you've had a video deleted, but it's nice to see that it's not just me. So I will upload this to YouTube. I try to upload to BitChute and brand YouTube, but their uploading is absolutely awful. Someone's put a link to Andrew. If you just go to YouTube, so if you go to YouTube and search for Check the Evidence, that will take you to Andrew. All one word, yeah. And if you go to YouTube and search for The Collective Conspiracy Show, you'll see some of my older shows as well. But thank you, everybody, for watching. We've overrun a little bit. Take care, all of you. Enjoy the sunshine. Get out there. Definitely. Go around your friends. Have a barbecue. And enjoy life, really. Just enjoy life. Thank you very much, and see you soon.